Hazmat Safety Awareness with preprep.net. 1. This federal act addresses the problem of inactive hazardous waste sites. 8. Superfund. B. The Resource Conservation and Recovery Act. C. The Occupational Safety and Health Act. D. The Clean Water Act. The correct answer is a Superfund. Explanation: Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act, SERCRO-CLEA, also known as the Superfund Act. This federal act specifically addresses the cleanup of inactive hazardous waste sites by providing funding and assigning liability for remediation. 2. This act requires chemical companies to research the effects of new chemicals and notify the EPA before they are manufactured. A. The Clean Water Act. B. The Hazardous Materials Transportation Act. C. The Toxic Substances Control Act. D. Superfund. The correct answer is C. The Toxic Substances Control Act. Explanation: The Toxic Substances Control Act (TSCA) mandates that companies research the effects of new chemicals and notify the EPA before they are manufactured, allowing the agency to regulate chemicals that pose an unreasonable risk to human health and the environment. 3. Under Title III, the primary responsibility for developing a local plan for handling accidental releases of acutely toxic substances is the responsibility of A. The State Emergency Response Commission. B. The National Response Team. C. The Local Emergency Planning Committee. D. The Environmental Protection Agency. The correct answer is C. The Local Emergency Planning Committee. Explanation: Title III of the Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act, EPCRA. This legislation primarily focuses on establishing local emergency planning committees, LEPCs, and defining their responsibilities regarding hazardous materials. 4. EPCRA requires industries that store or use certain quantities of acutely hazardous substances to report them under what conditions? A. Only routine day-to-day releases. B. Only accidental releases of a certain quantity. C. Both routine and accidental releases of a certain quantity. D. Every release in any quantity. The correct answer is C. Both routine and accidental releases of a certain quantity. Explanation: EPCRA stands for Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know Act. It mandates that facilities storing or using certain hazardous substances, including acutely hazardous ones, must report to relevant authorities if they release these substances in quantities exceeding a predetermined reportable quantity (RQ). 5. The local role in reducing public risks from hazardous materials includes A. Developing an emergency plan for hazardous materials incidents. B. Regulating hazardous materials transportation through local ordinances. C. Regulating safe disposal of hazardous waste. D. All of these. The correct answer is D. All of these. Explanation: Regulating hazardous materials transportation. While federal agencies like FEHSA set broad regulations, local governments can enact additional ordinances specific to their area, such as requiring permits for certain hazardous material transport or establishing safe routes. Regulating safe disposal of hazardous waste. Local governments can enforce regulations regarding the proper disposal of hazardous waste, ensuring it is handled safely and disposed of in approved facilities. Developing an emergency plan. Local communities, often through local emergency planning committees, LEPCs, are responsible for creating plans to respond to hazardous material spills or accidents. These plans should outline procedures for evacuation, containment, and cleanup. 6. If you believe a local manufacturer is not in compliance with Title III, you should A. Report the situation to the LEPC. B. Sue the manufacturer. C. Call a reporter. D. Threaten the manufacturer. The correct answer is A. Report the situation to the LEPC. Explanation: Title 3 of the Emergency Planning and Community Right to Know about Hazardous Materials Act (EPCR) requires facilities that handle certain quantities of hazardous materials to submit information to the local Emergency Planning Committee (LEPC) and the public. If you suspect a manufacturer is not complying with these regulations, reporting the issue to the LEPC is the appropriate course of action. They can then investigate the matter and take necessary steps to ensure public safety. 7. The federal agency responsible for regulating hazardous materials transportation is A. The Environmental Protection Agency, B. The Department of Labor, C. The Department of Transportation, D. The Federal Emergency Management Agency. The correct answer is C. The Department of Transportation. Explanation: the Department of Transportation (DOT) is the federal agency primarily responsible for regulating the transportation of hazardous materials. This includes establishing safety standards for the transport of hazardous materials, ensuring proper labeling and packaging, and overseeing the transportation of radioactive materials.